going through Git, right? So we will continue with Git today. Yes, Yashant. Call me after the class. Yeah. Uh, this week we completed Docker, and yesterday we started with Git. We had two classes this week. Tuesday we completed Docker, and Wednesday, that means yesterday, we began with Git. Okay. So today we will continue with Git. That is the plan. So give me 1 minute. Okay, so today we will continue with Git. And I am back to Bangalore on Feb 6th actually. And I will be there for that week. I'll be in Bangalore. And after that week, I would be coming back, and then I will go back um, in somewhere near 15th or 16th. That is the plan. Yeah. So yeah, let's take a look at Git. What all things we did yesterday? We had discussed about Git, what is a Git repository, and how developers work on the source code, make changes to the source code, and then update the source code into the Git repository. These are the things that we discussed. And we have also seen how Git would track the changes done by developers, right? Whenever a commit is made to the Git repository, Git will record it. Git will not only record the changes, it will also record who made the change, at what time this change is done, which exact files are modified, what exact contents are modified, right? Everything. Whenever a new commit happens, the entire changes are actually recorded by the Git repository. So these are the things that we had done yesterday. What we did, we created a user called Git, and then we created Tom's laptop. Basically, we created a single user called Tom inside your EC2 machine. Then you created another user called Jerry, and then we have seen we logged into Tom's laptop. Then we created a folder. Then we created a run this init command to create the Git repository inside that particular folder. A .git folder would be created. Then you added two files by running git add command. Then you run the git commit command. Before you run the commit, you must introduce yourself to Git repository before you can make any commit, because each time a commit is made to Git want to record who made this change. So unless Git knows you, it cannot record your change. So first you need to introduce yourself to Git. That's what you did. And finally you can do a commit. So we have seen how to make a commit into the Git repository. Before that, what we did, we created a remote repository under a user called Git. So you have the remote repository, and then you have Tom's laptop. Inside Tom's laptop, you have a working copy, and then you have a staging area. Then you have the local repository inside Tom's laptop. So after finishing the commit, you want to do a push to the remote repository. when you do a push, whatever commits that are done on the local repository would be pushed into the remote repository. Now the remote repository and local repository will look alike. So this is done by Tom, and Tom can keep on making changes, and he can keep on making commits and push his commits into the remote repository whenever he want to. So first let me log into the machine. I will log in as user Tom. I am going to log into Tom's computer. Okay, I became Tom here. Now in a different terminal, I am going to log in as user Jerry. So now I am logged in as user Jerry. So inside Tom folder, I already created a folder Tom repo, and inside Tom repo, I created two files. Then I added these files into the Git repository. Then I made a commit. Then I did a push. So at any point of that time, you can run this command git log, which would actually show you all the commits that were made to the Git repository so far. As we can see, right now there's only one commit. This is the commit ID, and Git will also record who made this commit, at what time this commit was made, and what commands did Tom added. All these things would be recorded here. So now let's say Tom is going to make more changes. Let's say he's going to make some config. He's going to edit some code. He opens some files and he is adding some content. So I added some new content into the file readme. I'm going to save this particular file. Now I made a change. I can run this command git status -s. Git status -s command, if you run it, would show you the current status. Basically, the current status is nothing but if there are any file which are not committed to Git. There is actually the readme file. I already have modified it, so it would show you m readme. Basically, the readme file have been modified. But as you know, this change I am doing only in the working copy. Directly I edited the code. Now I need to add the file into the repository. Into where? Into the staging area. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to run the command git add, then the readme file. The file will get added. Now again run the command git status -s. It would show you. Right now, the file have been modified. It is green. What it means is the file is already added to the Git repository. Now it is time to do a commit. So run this command git -commit. Changes in readme. So you can put any command as your wish. Git commit -m. Then in the double quotes you can put some command. So the commit is done. Of course, the commit is now made to the local repository. So this commit that you have made, now you want to push this into the remote repository. What is the command for that? You already added the remote repository to Tom's computer yesterday, origin, right? So I'm going to do a push now. Git push origin to origin. I want to do the push to the master branch. I want to do the push. So I need to mention these details. This is the push command. So now I made more modification, made another commit. This new commit also I pushed into the remote repository. So now run this command git log or git status. You can run right now. Git status or git status -s. If you run it, it won't show you anything. The reason is now there are no modified changes which are yet to be committed. So in that case, git status -s command will not show you anything because there is nothing to do. You are all good. You already committed whatever change that you have made so far. That's what if you get git status -s command output is empty, that's what it means. So the next thing I'm going to do is now run the command git log. It will show you whatever commits that are made so far. One commit is made by Tom. This is the commit, and this is the command that he have added. This is the first commit that he has made. You can see at what time, who made this commit, everything. And there is a command called git diff. Git diff space commit id, which I actually show you what are the change done in a particular commit. Git diff space the commit id. No, actually it is not git diff, it's actually git show command. Git show space commit id will basically show you what are the change happened in this particular commit. So run this command. You can see I had taken the latest commit. This is the latest commit. So git show space the commit id will show you what are the change that are taken place. It would first show you who is the author, at what time the commit was made, what command did he added, all these things you can see. And over here you can see this is a test file. This is a new line which got added. Or you want to know what happened in this particular commit, you can run the command git show then the commit id, which would basically show you what are the changes happened in this particular commit. You can see the command that Tom have added, followed by the changes. So basically you added two new files. One is test.txt, another new file is readme. These are the content that you have added into the test.txt. This is it. Into the readme file, this is the content that you have added. So basically you can see for each commit that were done in the past, you can see the log command or the diff command would show command would actually show you what are the exact changes that are done. Okay, fine. So that is Tom. Now I log into Jerry's computer. Let's say Jerry is a new guy. He does not have the code inside his laptop. So first he need to get the remote repository to Jerry's computer, of course. Now Tom has everything. He has the working copy. Then he has the staging repository. Then he has the local repository. All these things Tom have. Then you have the remote repository where Tom can push his changes. And this is Jerry's laptop, and Jerry want to do a clone operation from the remote repository. Through a clone operation, this entire remote repository will get copied to the local repository of Jerry's computer. So a new local repository would be created inside Jerry's computer, which is nothing but a clone of this remote repository. So whatever commits are there inside this remote repository, which would actually include the commit done by Tom. There are two commits done by Tom so far into Tom's local repository. Both commits have been pushed into the remote repository. So those commits will come into Jerry's computer also. And automatically it would create a local repository, a staging area, and a working copy in Jerry's computer. Jerry will automatically get the latest code that would include the change done by Tom, and also a staging area and a local repository to which Jerry can now start doing the commit. So Jerry can make the modifications once he did this clone. Then he can make a commit. Then he can later do a push operation to the remote repository. That's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to log into Jerry's laptop. First, I will create a folder. Let's say Jerry repo. I'm going to create a folder called Jerry repo. And go inside the folder Jerry repo. And now I am going to perform a clone operation. So whenever you do push, pull, or clone operation, the connection goes through SSH. So just like you did yesterday in Tom's computer, you created a key pair, a private key and one public key you have created. The public key you copied into the remote repository. Then through SSH, your Git connection will go. The same thing you need to do in Jerry's computer also. He need to create a key pair, private, public. Then public key he will copy to the Git user authorized keys. Then only he can perform the clone operation, right? So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to generate a key pair for Jerry also. Okay, so I created this is the private key and this is the public key. The public key, what I would do, I will copy to the Git user authorized keys. So let me log into the machine once again. And once I logged in, I will copy this key into the authorized keys of Git user. So first let me log in as the user Git, then open the file .ssh authorized keys. Inside this file, I already put Tom's key yesterday. I am appending Jerry's key to the end of this particular file. So this is Jerry's key. I am copying Jerry's key also into the same file in a new line. Save it. Now Jerry can perform the clone operation. What is the command? Git clone the Git URL. Git clone git at the rate localhost project dot git. So this is the command that you want to run, and you want, maybe first thing I want to do is I'll create a new folder. Let's call it Jerry repo. Go inside the folder Jerry repo. Sorry, I am the Git user. Sorry. Let me log into Jerry's laptop. This is Jerry's laptop. I already created a folder called Jerry repo. Now I am going to run the git clone command on Jerry's laptop. Git clone space the URL, then put a dot. Basically, dot would indicate that current folder. Clone the entire content from the remote repository, save them inside the current folder. That's what I mean by dot. So run this command. Then the entire things would be copied. It would ask you for a warning. Are you sure want to connect? Yes. Then it will ask you for, it will copy all the commits that are there in the remote repository to Jerry's computer. Now you type ls command, you can see Jerry can actually see the files readme and test.txt. Actually, my machine is very slow. I don't know. I will try to stop it once and start it again. Let's see if that helps. The machine looks to be very slow. Let me stop and start it. In the meantime, you can take a short break of 5 minutes. We will resume in 5 minutes. So I have set up everything, and assume this is Tom's laptop and this is Jerry's laptop. Git log command Tom or Jerry can run at any point of time. They can see the details about their local repository. Always remember, whatever git command which Tom is executing, it always work with the Tom's local repository. So Tom run the command git log, then it will show you all the commits inside Tom's local repository. When Jerry run the same command git log, it would show you whatever commits Jerry has inside his local repository, not the remote repository. Always make a note. So run the command git log. So far there's only one commit. I'm going to make one more commit. Let's say I'm going to make some modification to the readme file. I'm adding some content. Test file readme. I'm going to save this file and I'm going to do a commit. So git add. So I have two files, but I only modified readme. So I need to add only readme. What I will do, git add readme. So basically this is the only file which I want to add for commit. So run this command git commit -m. Then you can mention made changes in readme, right? Only readme file you modified. Now you can do a push command git push origin master, which would actually upload whatever commits that you had done would to the remote repository. Now run the command git log command Of course, it would connect with the local repository and show you whatever commits that you have in the local repository, not on the remote repository. Always make a note. So now what Jerry is going to do is, Jerry want to do a clone. He will first create a folder, let's say Jerry repo, and inside this particular folder I am going to run the git clone command, git clone space the URL, whichever URL that you want to clone from. So here you mention git at the rate localhost colon project.git. This is the git URL syntax, right? The remote repository URL. Then you mention to which folder you want to check out the content. So dot means the current folder. So run this command. You can see it will ask you for a warning. Are you sure want to connect? Yes. The SSH warning. I put yes. Then it will continue. Then you can see type ls. You can see the readme file and test.txt. Open the file. You can see the readme file is here. Then open the test.txt file. You can see it's a blank file actually. So whatever files that are there in the remote repository that came to the local repository of Jerry. So it is not the file that you are downloading when you perform the clone operation. Actually, the entire remote repository is getting copied to Jerry's computer. That's exactly what happens. The local repository will now contain whatever you had inside the remote repository, which is nothing but the previous commits made by other developers so far. So all those commits would be copied to the local repository of Jerry's laptop now. Now Jerry can run the git log command. He will see the same result as Tom. Run the command git log on Jerry's computer. He can see there are two commits. Both commits are done by Tom. This is the first commit which Tom had made at this particular time, and this is the command that he has added, and this is the second commit that he has made at this particular time, right? And this is the command that he added. And or you can also run the command git show. Always you can run the command git show, specify the commit id, or you simply run git show command. It would show you the details about the latest commit, which is nothing but this one, where Tom already modified some, added some content into the readme file. So that details would be showed up. Okay, great. So these are the different git command that you can run. This is how typically the developers would work, right? Developer want to work on different developer want to make the code modification in a project, and they need to commit their change into the remote repository. This is how they would do it. Okay, great. So that's pretty much. And now what I'm going to do is git diff command you can run at any point of time, which would actually show you what changes, unmodified change it would show. Let's say I'm going to modify the readme file. I will open the readme file. Let's say Tom is working on something. He's trying to fix some login issue. This is the code change by Tom when he worked on Jerry. This is Jerry's computer. Maybe Jerry is making this code changes. Login issues. Somebody on your website, they are not able to log in, and Jerry is fixing the problem. And he added some content. He made some code modification to fix the problem. And let's say it is the README file that he has modified. So he is not sure whichever file that he has modified. He can simply run the command git diff. If he run it, it would show you the exact changes that are done so far, which are yet to be committed. So before you do any commit or any add operation, you can run the command git diff, which would show you your modified changes. So this is the readme file. It's only readme file that have been modified so far, and this is the only change made to the readme file. So the developers keep on making the commits, they keep on committing, they keep on committing, and now you did not make any commit, but you got this code and you made some modifications, but you haven't committed that yet. So in that situations, it will compare whatever stable change in the previous commit and whatever change you had modified. So that log would be printed to your terminal. like this. Clone and pull does not work the same way. Clone is typically used when you want to clone the entire remote repository. The entire remote repository to the local repository, you can do the clone operation. But in case of Tom, let's say now Jerry is going to do some modification. He modified the README file. Now he is going to do a commit. He will add the file README, right? The file need to be added before it can be committed. So now I am going to do the commit into the Git repository. I'm mentioning change by Jerry. Login issue is fixed. So some command Jerry have added. He is going to do the commit, but yes, please tell me who you are. Git need to know who you are so that it can track you. So I'm going to introduce myself. Let's say the mail ID is Jerry at the right local host. Then the username I am putting as Jerry. Perfect. So now I am going to do the commit operation, and I commit is succeeded. So now I am going to do the push. How Jerry will push it? He can run the command git push origin master. So he doesn't need to add the remote repository automatically, because when he ran this clone operation, the remote repository URL also got copied into the Jerry's laptop as origin. So no need to add the remote origin once again. It's already added. You can simply start doing the push. Git push origin master is the command you need to run, which would push whatever change Jerry had made into the remote repository. So now run the command git log in Jerry's computer. You can see 3 commits. When you run the command git log in Tom's computer, you see only 2 commits. You know the reason? Yeah, of course. When you run the git log command, it look at the local repository of Tom, which has only 2 commits. But how about the local repository of Jerry's laptop? He already does the clone operation, which already copied the 2 commits. Then Jerry made a new commit and uploaded that into, by doing a push operation, Jerry updated his changes to the remote repository. But Tom does not have that in his laptop. In that case, he has to synchronize the remote repository, synchronize his local repository with the new changes in the remote repository. For that, you can do a pull operation. So pull operation is nothing. It will not do the complete cloning. It will copy only the differences, only the new commits which are not there in the local repository and which are there in the remote repository. Only those new commits are going to be copied when you perform a pull operation. On the other side, clone operation would copy the entire repository to a new local repository. This new local repository will be created inside developer's machine. Typically, it is used by developers who joins your team. Let's say somebody joins your team, right? They are new to your team and they are added to your project. So in that case, they need to run a clone operation in order to get the entire remote repository on their laptop. But that is not the case with the developers who is working on this remote repository. Whenever they want to make modification, they make modification, they do a commit, and they can do the push. And at any point of time, any developer can do a pull operation to download the content from the remote repository. So this is how it works. So what Tom want to do now? He want to do a pull operation, right? Git pull origin master is the command you need to run, which will download the changes from the remote repository. Now run the command git log. It would show you the 3 commits now. Earlier there was only 2. Now it is 3. Okay, cool. So this is how the developer would work, making changes to the code. Okay, so the next topic is git stash. So git stash is something like, let's say there's a developer who is working on something. Tom. Tom is working on adding the Paytm payment option. Uh, Tom is working on a big project. He want to integrate Paytm into the cab application. That's what he is working on, and he know that it will take time. So he already started the work, and it is taking time to complete. Maybe 1 week is passed. He made a lot of changes. He made added a number of classes, created a number of files, deleted some files. He made a lot of changes, but they are incomplete. He is not done yet. He want to integrate the Paytm payment options over here. That's exactly what he is doing. So immediately some urgent issue came across, and the manager of Tom asked him that you work on this problem, right? We have something urgent. Please go ahead and work on this particular problem immediately. So what would happen? Tom already made a lot of changes, right? He already have made a lot of changes. He don't want to lose them. What he can actually do is he can stash the changes into a temporary queue. Generally, it is called a stash. So you have, this is Tom's laptop. He made some code modification. Then he is running this stash command, which will actually copy entire unmodified changes into a stash queue, and his working copy will get reset to the previous table commit. So whatever changes have been done after the previous table commit will be pushed into a stash, and your working copy would get reset. That means each and every files inside your working copy will get reset back to the previous state. Now Tom can start working on the other change, the immediate fix. Maybe it's a small fix. He fix the problem within 2 hours or 3 hours. Then he can do a commit, he can do a push also. Then he can pop from the stash whatever unmodified change that he has, the Paytm unfinished changes. You already have them in the stash queue, that you can get them back by doing a stack pop operation. Then all your files will be modified again with the whatever change that you had done before you did the stashing. So those changes will come back. That's exactly what stashing is. So what is the role of DevOps engineer is something we are going to discuss. Regarding Git, what all things a DevOps engineer do is something we are going to discuss. Yes, setting up the Git is something a DevOps engineer would do. Okay, so so what I'm going to do is, let's say this is Tom's computer. I can always run the command git pull to make sure that I have the latest content. It's a good idea. You can run git pull command very frequently, right? To make sure that you are up to date, because at the same time there can be a number of developers who is making change to this same repository. So always run the git pull command before you start working on this. So I am up to date. Git pull command shows me I am up to date. Now I am going to make some modification. First I am going to modify some readme file. I am adding some content. This is some code for Paytm fix which is incomplete. Something I'm putting. I mean, generally these are PHP files or Java files or some code that you are modifying, right? Make a note. In my case, I'm not a developer. I'm just simply putting some text instead. So open the file test.txt now. Then here also I am going to add some content. This is another change regarding Paytm, which is incomplete. So something you can put like this. So save this file. So I modified two files, both readme.txt and test.txt. Both files I have modified. Now it is time to do. It is time to do a commit. But before I made this commit, my manager came to me and asked that stop working on the current work, don't commit it, start working on a new thing. What I would do is I will run the command git stash. git stash command would actually reset you back to the previous table commit, and whatever modification that you have will be kept in a stash queue. Now you can look at the files, open the readme file, you can see the new content is gone, and also open test.txt file, you can see the new content is gone. So I'm going to maybe do something, let's say create a new folder, and inside this folder I'm going to create a new file, new.txt, and I'm putting some content, the new file. I'm going to save this particular file, run the command git add f1, right? Git add f1, git commit is going to make the commit, changes are done, or the urgent problem is fixed. The manager came to Tom and asked him to fix some urgent problem. So what he did is he stashed his modified changes, then he got reset back to the previous table commit. Now he made the modifications, maybe creating folder, creating file, adding some code, whatever. He made the modification. Now he is going to do the commit, and he is going to do the push as well. It's all looking good. So Tom is done with the urgent work. Now he want to get the work back from the start. Whatever modified change he want to get it back. You can run the command git stash pop is the command you need to run, which will actually download the changes from the stash. So as you can see, it would show you a summary saying that these are the modified files, both readme and test.txt. Yes, I was expecting the same. Open the readme file, you can see the third line is now there. Now open the other line file test.txt, you can see the new line is there. So it is time to add more changes. Maybe test.txt, he is completing the work on that particular file, something he put, right? He made some change. Now it is time to do the commit. So first let me add the file git add test.txt, then git add readme. I'm going to do a commit. Paytm is integrated, some command I put. Then I am going to do a push, which will do the push to the remote repository. Great. So this way developer can work if there are any work that he is currently in progress and he want to fix some immediate problem as soon as possible. So in such situations, you can stash your changes to a temporary queue, then finish the other work, and then take the work back from the stash queue. That is something you can do with git stash. And then you can have the operations like move, rename, and delete. Basically, if you want to rename a file or delete a file, you can use one of these syntax. Then you can do the commit, right? So let's say I have a file f1 folder, I have, or I have a file test.txt. I want to rename that file. What I can do, git mv test.txt to test.txt dot alt. Let's say I'm putting some different name, so I can directly run the command git mv, which will actually make modification to the file. Then I can simply commit it, put some command. So like this you can make the modification and commits. Or now let's say I want to delete the file. Now it is time to delete the file. So I have this file test.txt. Now I want to delete it. I can directly run the command git rm test.txt.alt, which would actually delete the file from the git repository. Now you can do a commit, git commit test.txt.alt is deleted. So I can put some command like this. First git commit, hyphen m. I did not put hyphen m. So right, it's committed and I did the push. So this way the developer can directly, if they want to delete a file from the remote repository, or I mean the Git repository, you can always run this rm command or mv command. So the next important command is git reset. So let us talk about git reset command. In the meantime, if Tom do the pull command, he can see the incomplete code by Jerry when he done stash. I did not get that. In the meantime,
Basil, what I'm trying to ask is like he was in the middle of the code, right? Then he has done a stash command, right? So he went into the other work now. So in the meantime, if the Tom has done a pull command, so he will get the I mean he will get that incomplete file also into his local repository.
no, stash,
He doesn't get, right?
yeah, stash is not actually the local repository. Stash is something like
No,
a
no,
different
it's
queue. Yeah, I got your question.
no,
I got your
yeah,
question. When you run the pull command, the changes
okay,
are being pulled from the remote repository,
yeah,
right? Stash is
mm,
a different thing. It's a different queue inside Tom's laptop.
okay, okay.
It is from here you are getting that into your working copy.
Oh, okay, got it, Basil. Now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. So git reset. So I told you, whenever you make a commit, Git will record your commit. So let's say you made a commit by mistake. Tom deleted a file by mistake, and then he committed that mistake into the remote repository. Now Tom want to revert the change. He want to delete the latest stable commit. So let's have Tom make some changes. He have a folder f1. Inside f1 he has new.txt. This file I am modifying. Okay, he made some modification, and he will run the command git add f1 and perform a commit operation. So whatever change Tom had done, he committed it to the local repository. So, and I realized that it was a mistake that I have done. I shouldn't have done that particular change. It's a commit that I want to revert back. So in that case, what you can do is you can run this git reset command. Git reset is the command. If you run it, your local repository final commit would be deleted and it would be replaced with the previous latest commit. So run the command git log. It shows you the list of commit IDs. So once you run the git reset command, the latest commit ID would be gone, and your head, I told you there is a head that would track what is your latest commit. The head would actually point back to the previous commit once you run the git reset command. That's what git reset command will do. Or you can simply run the command git reset hyphen hyphen hard, then you specify to which commit you want to reset your repository to. That is also something you can do. So let me run this command git reset. Oops. I already ran it, which would have already reverted my change. This is my latest change. Now let's say I'm going to run the command git reset hyphen hyphen hard, then the commit ID. Then what happens is the head pointer has changed. Sorry. I want to point to the I want to reset back to the previous commit, which is nothing but this one instead of the latest table one. So run the command git reset hyphen hyphen hard, then to which commit ID you want to reset to. Got it? So this way you can revert your changes and go back to a stable commit at any point of time. You can use the git reset command to go back to a stable commit. That's what a git reset command is. Now after I run this git reset command, you go ahead and take a look at the f1 file. Inside f1 open new.txt, you can see the other contents which was there in the previous commit, they are gone. Those files are gone. So this is how you can use the git reset command when you want to fix some mistakes. You made some accident commit, you want to revert it. You can always rely on git reset command to go back to the previous table commit. Tags, I told you, let's think about this. You have a git repository and developer continuously makes some commit to the some branch, let's say master branch. And at some point, let's say after getting a lot of change from developer, you would decide to release the software to public, to the market. You mark this point, you will tag it. Maybe you tag it something like, let's say 1.0 or 1.1, like that. You put the tag. So like that, you can create some tags inside your development lifecycle. Generally, they are nothing but the software releases. So like this, you can create tags at any point of time you want by running the git tag command. Git tag space the tag name, which would actually create a tag release 1.0 in your local repository. Always remember, whatever command that you are running, they make modification to the local repository, not to the remote repository directly. Unless you do a push operation, the remote repository will not be affected. All the changes, creating tag, creating branch, creating file, adding the file to the staging, doing the commits, all these things would happen always inside developer's laptop. No need of developer to be able to connect to the remote machine through internet. Even if there is no internet for the developer, he can still work on it. He can still do the commits without having to wait for someone else. And when he is done, let's say when the power is back or when the internet is back, he can do a push operation at any point of time that would copy whatever unmodified commits, I mean whatever new commits are there in Tom's repository, they will be copied to the remote repository whenever the power is back or whenever the internet connection is back. So developer gets a lot of flexibility. They don't really need to be connected with internet if they want to make some commit into the git repository, which is good. So this is the command for creating a new tag. Then you can simply run the command git tag, which would show you all the tags that you already have. If you want to push this tag, I told you this tag is created inside the local repository of Tom. If this need to be pushed to the remote repository, you need to run the git push command. The command is git push origin. You need to mention where you want to push it, then the tag name. So run this command. The tag would be pushed to the remote. Right, at any point of time we can run this command git tag or git tag hyphen l, which would show you the list of tags that you currently have. If you want to delete a tag, you can delete it at any point of time by running this command git tag hyphen d release.0. Always remember, this is getting deleted inside your local repository. You want to push it, you can push that. Git push origin tag is the command you need to run, which would actually tag, I think you can mention like this. It does not match any. I'm sure. Delete tag on remote. I can run this command git push hyphen hyphen delete. Then the tag name. I can put something like this. Then the tag name. This is the command which will actually delete the tag from the remote repository. So you run the git push command to delete this tag. This is also something you can do. What if mistakenly you pushed into the remote repository? So let's say by mistake you pushed into the remote repository. At any point of time, you can revert the change. The local repository modification you would made, you run the git reset command, which would actually modify your local repository and make the previous commit as the latest commit. Then you can do a push operation, which would actually synchronize your local repository with remote repository. At any point of time, doing the push operation means that it will synchronize the remote repository with your local repository. So after deleting, after running the git reset command, they can do the push operation. Got it? So next is patch and the branch, which I'm not covering today. That we will cover tomorrow. It's we need to explain that in detail. We will also discuss how this branching work and what is a role of DevOps engineer in doing this kind of branching. You don't really need to know about the coding part. That's not important, but it's important that you are pretty familiar with the branches and how they work. These are important. Okay, so any questions? The videos I have uploaded them to the Google Drive. You can check and verify that once, and let me know if you have any confusions. I already have uploaded. This week, a week you had only two classes. Monday you didn't have class. Please remember, only Tuesday and Wednesday you had class. Both videos have been uploaded to the drive, and even the shell scripting classes also have been uploaded to the drive. And I actually have did the upload yesterday itself for the shell scripting classes.
Okay.
So the question by Sunil is there any backup? What do you do for disaster recovery for the remote repository? Actually, this remote repository is nothing but the local repository saved inside individual laptops. In case this laptop is crashed, all you lose is the unpushed changes. Whatever commits that are not pushed, those you will lose, of course. The remaining you will not lose. The entire history would still exist in the local repository. If you if you lost the remote repository, same thing. One of your developer will have the latest remote repository. If not the latest, maybe you would hardly miss one or two last commits. Apart from that, you can basically copy the local repository of any developer's laptop and then use that as the new remote repository. So that is one main advantage with Git. Actually, the repositories are saved across multiple machines. There is no single point of failure.
Basically, I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.